Hey, what's up guys? In this video, I wanted to make a Wraith guide for you because she's really strong in this patch, and there have also been a lot of item changes ever since they did the item shop rework. So, I wanted to have my kind of build out there for you to experiment with or to try. And so without further ado, let's get right into the video. So first up, we're going to start with Monster Round, which is really good for Wraith because she has a very hard time shoving out the minion waves in the early game because her base damage isn't that high. And getting Monster Round really does help you push out the minion wave. And then after that, we can get Rapid Round and Swift Striker to again help us get a little bit of damage, push out that minion wave. And if you don't know, getting shoved under your tower is something that Wraith is very susceptible to because she, like I said, has very low base damage. And because of that, and because you can get poked out and pushed out of your lane if you're not careful, getting Monster Round really does help you in the early game. Then after that, you can get Titanic Magazine, which gives you a ton of ammo, which will help again pushing out the minion wave, but also will allow you to scale Intensifying Magazine a little bit better because you won't have to reload because your mag is so huge. And then you can get Test Bullet, which gives you 40 shock damage for a potential of 4 times a second, which is a lot of base damage, especially in that early game, because as you can imagine, it's a lot of damage when you think of Headshot Booster, which has an 8-second damage doing 50 bonus damage per headshot. But Test Bullet has a potential to proc 4 times a second, doing 40 damage. So in the early game, that 40 damage is a lot. And the only kind of downside of having this item is you need a lot of fire rate to proc it off cooldown. And because we're playing Wraith, we can actually proc it more efficiently than pretty much any other hero in the game. And then after that, we want to get extra HP and Intensifying Mag because these, one make us tankier, and Intensifying Mag really scales with having a big magazine size, which we're going to have. And then once you get Spell Slinger, your downtime, because your reload time is going to be very short with this item, you're not going to really drop weapon damage stacks because you're reloading very fast. And then you'll get Quicksilver Reload and Bullet Lifesteal, pretty self-explanatory. Reload your gun, fire rate, and then it gives you a little bit of sustain with Bullet Lifesteal. Then once you get to that mid game, you can get Fortitude, which 1 gives you a ton of base HP, which is really good on a squishy hero. It 2 regenerates your HP, which is really good, so you never have to go back to base to heal. And then 3, you'll get 22% weapon damage, which is really good when you have a lot of when you're above 75% HP. And then you also get movement speed, which is really good for rotating around the map very quickly. And then we're going to be looking at getting superior cooldown because baseline Wraith has very long cooldowns. So you'll have a 48-second cooldown TP. Your full auto, which you probably are going to level up along with your ult at least one time. They're going to have a 34-second cooldown with full auto and a 70-second cooldown with telekinesis. So as you can imagine, her cooldowns are really long, so getting superior cooldown is really important. But you might be thinking, well, I'm going to be losing out on damage, right, if I get superior cooldown. And that is true. You do get utility, but you are spending a lot of money to get a utility item. Well, that's when we get Cultist Sacrifice, because once you get this item in the mid to late game, not only will it help you generate money, it's cheaper because you get Monster Round anyway, so it's a 2400 upgrade, which is really good. And then on top of it, it gives you fire rate and bonus HP, which are both really good stats on Wraith. And ability range is also really good because it'll extend our TP range and make the cast range of our ultimate even longer, so we can use it from further away. So it's a very good item, and the only real limiting factor of it is the fact that it has a very long cooldown compared to its duration. So it's only really worth it on a hero that gets cooldown reduction, which, again, like I mentioned, Wraith is a character that really does benefit from superior cooldown. And to make matters good, or even better, we get Spellslinger, which has cooldown reduction, which also affects the cooldown of Cultist Sacrifice. So when you get these items, you can see that Cultist Sacrifice only has a 172-second cooldown, which is amazing. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Cultist Sacrifice does scale with your level. So I know it says it does 10% fire rate, 100 bonus HP. Doesn't look that good, but when you get this in the mid to late game, the stats on it are going to be amazing. So let me go ahead and show you that here. So let's say you get to the 27k mark, and let me level up my character to the 27k mark real quick. you can see that Cult of Sacrifice gives us 30% fire rate and almost 300 HP, which is very, very good on a squishy hero. Bonus HP is phenomenal because getting anything that scales our HP or our max HP isn't as good as having just straight up bonus HP. So when you eat a minion, you'll have around 2700 HP in the mid game, and by the late game you're gonna have a total of 3k HP when you're fully leveled up. But that's a lot of tankiness innately for a squishy hero, and you're also not going to be losing any damage because you'll have a ton of damage from Spellslinger and Cult of Sacrifice. And another benefit is Spellslinger is really good on heroes that can spam abilities, which Wraith is one of the few heroes that can actually get this passive buff up really, really effectively. So the way you want to do it is after you pop your 3, you just want to throw cards out. So you need to use 5 cards after using your 3 to get 6 stacks of it. But once you get those 6 stacks, man, you're going to have 60% additional fire rate, which is insane. And then on top of it, you're going to have minus 60% reload time, which makes this item incredible for sustained fighting in a team fight. And if you use this combo, you're going to notice like, dang, your downtime between shooting people back to back to back is basically non-existent. And having to only spend 27k to get to this point, to have so much bonus HP, so much utility and damage is really, really awesome. And then from here, you can choose to kind of deviate from the build. If you just want raw damage, you can go into the late game Insanity. Or if you don't have any flex slots, you can, get Mercurial Magnum or Vampiric Burst, depending on what you want for the situation. And I think I'm going to move Siphon Bullet out of this. I think it's a good item, but maybe not as good as before. If you want to get another tanky item to replace or to get after Spellslinger, I actually like to get Inhibitor now because one, it gives bonus HP, which is, like I said, is really good. Weapon damage, really awesome. But the main juice of it is having a damage penalty, and healing reduction is a very, very, very well-rounded item. And once you get to that late game, if you get like Vampiric Burst and Inhibitor, you're going to have 3400 HP, making you quite tanky. And if you want to make it even more absurd, you can get Colossus, which will give you 30% bullet resist, 30% spirit resist, and a ton of extra HP. And as you can see here, you're going to have 4k HP if you can get to this late game stage with a ton of healing and a ton of damage and debuffs. And if you ever need to deal, like if somebody's trying to burst you down, like a Yamato's diving you or Calico, you just pop Colossus and you get a bunch of extra defensive stats. That's if you wanted to get extra tanky because you're fighting a very burst heavy comp or something. But yeah, that is kind of how I would build her as a fun option. Or if you want to go for a more damage oriented tankiness style, you can instead get Siphon Bullet and then Healing Tempo. And if you didn't know, Siphon Bullet, when you're below full HP, actually can proc Healing Tempo, which is quite nice. And if you have Vampiric Burst, that extra 25% healing effectiveness is really good. So that's another option. I do think I prefer Inhibitor and Colossus because you become damn near unkillable. But if you want just more damage with a side of tankiness, then getting Siphon Bullet and Healing Tempo is also a really good option. But yeah, other than that, you can also go into other options depending on what you're fighting. If you're fighting a bunch of bullet damage, getting Escalating Resilience is really good. Or you have any other option if you're fighting like a Lash or something and you want to counter their ultimate, then having Counter Spells really good. And yeah, after the 27k mark, you can kind of deviate from the build a lot and kind of do whatever you need to do. Get counter items if you need, get more damage if you need. And also I should mention that if you want more raw damage, you can get Spiritual Overflow, which is a ton of damage, or you can get Armor Piercing Rounds if you're fighting plated armor or a ton of armor in general. And those are kind of like my main 2 options for more raw damage outside of getting Mercurial Magnum and Vampiric Burst. And then on top of that, if you want more CC, I have the CC options up here depending on what you're fighting. If you need to counter a diving Calico who's been really fed and is a really big nuisance for you, you can get Curse. You can get Slowing Bullet for more fire rate and to slow people down to make chasing them down more effective. You get Mystic Slow, Slowing Hex, Disarming Hex if you want to deal with maybe another M1 carry who's giving you trouble, or knockdown if you're fighting like a 7 or Lash or something and you want to knock them out of the air. And yeah, that's going to be the overall build. If you want to kind of experiment with it, you can let me know in the comment section how you did with it. And if you thought it was trash, let me know. If you thought it was really good, let me know. I really appreciate feedback, and I will be updating this guide very, very frequently, or basically any build, I should say, I update frequently. So if you want to see any changes over time, or if there's a big patch and you want to see any changes I've made to the build, you can go back to the build browser here, type in Renin in the public section here, and my builds will always pop up when I publish them. And you can go and copy and edit and look at the updates. And if you don't know, you can actually see when people are updating the builds by seeing the last updated little message right here. And like I said, any build on any character, if you want to see any published builds by me, you can look up Renin and my builds will show up just by typing in Renin. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope this guide helps you. Thank you so much for watching.
Just like start shooting.